It was a sunny July afternoon at Mount Baldy, a dune in Indiana Dunes National Lakeshore. 6-year-old Nathan Mosner was playing with a friend when all of a sudden he disappeared down a tube-like cavity deep in the dune. Nathan had fallen into a 12-inch diameter hole that was a dozen feet deep. It took 3 hours to find Nathan who, when they found him, was covered in sand, ice cold, wasn't breathing, and had no pulse. When he was found, he was sent to the hospital where he was sedated. The doctors then guided a flexible tube down his throat to suction the sand from his lungs. Within 5 days, Nathan was breathing on his own, and after 2 weeks at the hospital, he went home. Holes, like the one Nathan fell into, form in migrating dunes when sand buries fungi-covered trees in the dune. When the tree decays, the fungi acts like cement and leaves the tree's hollowed-out shape in the dune. The sand is moving to cover the trees because it is free. Normally, vegetation would keep the sand in place, but when the vegetation disappears, the sand will start to move. Protecting dunes from misuse, overuse, loss of vegetation, and erosion will save the dunes from disappearing. Sand dunes are the home to lots of plants and animals. In Sleeping Bear Dunes, there are red fox, white-tailed deer, porcupine, and bats. The plants in Sleeping Bear Dunes have had to adapt to survive in the dune. For example, sea rockets have made it so that their leaves hold moisture, and dune grass has roots that go deep into the dune to reach water. In her book, Consider the Earth, Julie Gates states that sand dunes located along lake shores and ocean shores help reduce the damage done by hurricanes or other strong winds because they lessen the severity of the winds and act as barriers against them. This means that sand dunes are a natural barrier against strong winds. Also, sand dunes protect houses and buildings behind them from storms, powerful waves, flooding, and strong winds. When wind blows sand and the sand gets trapped in vegetation, it starts to form a dune. Dune grass seeds find their way to new piles of sand and trap more sand. Wind will blow the sand, and without vegetation, the sand will come loose from the sand dune, and there will be no sand dune left. In other words, plants are what start a sand dune, and plants are what keep a sand dune. A migrating dune is always moving. This is because there is no vegetation to keep the sand in place. We need to protect the plants in young dunes so they won't become migrating sand dunes. Vegetation helps keep the sand from eroding and blowing away quickly and in large volume, Julie Gates said in her book Consider the Earth. Misusing and carelessly managing a sand dune will cause vegetation to stop growing and will lead to erosion. The sand will be blown away. Being reckless and overusing vehicles will tear up dunes and trample vegetation. Dune plants have adapted to live in the harsh environments of sand dunes, but if they are continuously walked on and driven on by all-terrain vehicles, the plant's roots could be affected. This would cause the roots to die off. Without sand dune plants, the integrity and preservation of a stable dune complex cannot exist. Erosion causes sand to fall into the lake around the sand dune. The houses built on the dune would also fall into the lake. Erosion is what leads to the death of a sand dune. When the dune plants all die and the rocks in the dunes are removed, the sand dune will erode. This is why it is very important for a sand dune to have rocks and plants. Without them, the sand dune will erode. Because there are no rocks and plants, there is nothing for new sand to get trapped in, and the dune will disappear. Another cause of erosion is sand mining. Sand mining is when companies come mine sand for engine blocks and other projects. This causes the dune to disappear. There used to be big sand dunes in Muskegon, but now they are gone because of sand mining. Luckily, Michigan decided to take part in the Natural Resources and Environmental Protection Act and the Sand Dunes Protection and Management Act. When Michigan decided to do this, the dunes were protected from commercial, residential, and industrial developments who were taking sand from the sand dunes and causing erosion. Sand dunes are barriers that block strong winds, waves, and storms. They are also home to lots of plants and animals. Without plants and rocks, or when a sand dune is mined for sand, the sand dune will erode. Erosion will lead to the sand dune disappearing. Also, without vegetation, the sand will move and bury fungi-covered trees, creating holes deep in the dune. Michigan is protecting our sand dunes, but that doesn't mean that you can't help. Misusing and overusing sand dunes is still a big problem. You can help by taking good care of sand dunes and not destroying vegetation that grows there. Protecting dunes from misuse, overuse, loss of vegetation, and erosion will save sand dunes from disappearing. Sand dunes are important, so make a difference and protect them.